they should give you your attention and support.
Yeah.
You have no choice. You have to support me so that we can make this an exciting period. And it's still early in the morning, so we have to really keep this very interactive. Welcome, those of you who are coming from outside Accra, welcome. And those of you in Accra, I hope you are still managing the traffic wahala. But yes, we're going to spend the next 1 hour, 30 minutes trying to explore something that I'm sure all of us, in one way or another, have been wondering why this is happening. And if you're wondering, how can this narrative change? What can be done about it? But because we are not really conscious of what is happening, sometimes we also, when we are given the opportunity to change the narrative, we are also very complicit in this whole exercise in terms of the way the media, especially the Western media, portrays events in Africa. My session is in twofold. So there will be some aspects of today's session that will come alive in tomorrow's session. But because you're all practitioners and this has to do with the media, what I would really urge us all to try and do is to make this very interactive. Share your experiences. Don't hold anything back. I'm sure you have agreed on the ground rules already, but I don't think there's anything like a silly question or contribution. No, let's be comfortable and throw things out. And the only thing is that when you throw a silly question at me, I may have the tendency to give you a silly answer, then we just move on. But otherwise, really nothing to worry about. So good to see you all. Because of time, maybe what we'll do is that we'll get to know if I can see the name tag. So we'll get to know each other as we go along. I can see the names. And because I can see the names, unfortunately, I have this very bad habit that my students don't like at GIG, where I give the microphone to you, whether you like it or not, you speak.
Hey.
You have to talk in my class. So my students don't like me my voice line. Just take their eye off. But I will still find a way of giving you the microphone. Right. So let's make it very happy. Right. So yes, you guys are welcome. Is that the first time you're in Ghana? For you?
Yes, it's the first time.
Wow.
No, don't worry. I'll take you around.
Take you around.
Wonderful. Yeah. So this morning, I just want us to do, this is not like the first teaser, but this is a teaser, right? And what I want you to note down, usually I would have asked us to do it in groups, but let's do it as individual. When you hear the word, right, cybercrime, what really comes to mind? When you hear the media talking about cybercrime, what really comes to mind? Right? What comes to mind? So write it down. Write just one thing or one word that comes to mind when you hear the word cybercrime. And then what you're also supposed to do is to tell me where you formed, how you came about that, how you came about that knowledge or that understanding. That word that comes to mind when you hear the word cybercrime, how did you form that? Where do you get that? What's the source of that knowledge? I don't know what that makes sense. So let's say maybe when you hear the word cybercrime, it's hungry looking tackle. Right? Where did you get that from? Where did you form that opinion from? How did that opinion come across? That's what I want us to do this morning for the first sessions. And then we talk about it. It's likely somebody will write down something that you also come to write down. If the person mentions it before you, then you have to change course. As I just said, by the way, we can still take the repetition. But maybe the explanation might probably be different. Yeah? Quite a good to see you. Yeah? Good. So, who wants to go? Yeah?
For me, cybercrime is the use of the internet to commit crime. And so that's my understanding of cybercrime.
So when you hear the word cybercrime, somebody just says cybercrime, is that the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yes, that's the very thing that came to mind the very first time I heard the word cybercrime. I know what crime means, and so cyber for me is internet. So I had to form that very understanding of which crimes from the word good.
It's the fact that it's a crime committed
Using the internet.
using the internet. Okay, wonderful. Anybody else? Yeah? Internet fraud. Okay, so we have two connections there, right? Internet, right? And then you said crime, and you said fraud. Are they the same? What is the correlation between crime and fraud? I like that. Fraud is a crime, right?
Crime is big.
Crime is bigger.
Yes.
As big as me.
Bigger than
me,
you.
right?
Yes.
So crime is more or less like the umbrella, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then fraud is an element, it's a characteristic, it's a constituent of crime, right? Brilliant. Okay, we are making some headway. Making my way easy. Alright, anybody else? Deception. When you hear the word cybercrime, you hear what comes to mind is deception.
Yeah.
Who is doing the deception? Who is deceiving who?
The criminal.
Who is the criminal? Who is the criminal here?
The cyber criminal.
So when you hear the word cybercrime, what comes to mind is that there is an element of deception there. Okay, that's good. Interesting. What else? Duping someone on the internet. Right? Duping. What do you do?
Somebody.
Stealing and duping is the thing. Don't destroy someone and the name. Because we all steal most of the time without knowing, right?
Yes.
You walk into somebody's office, your phone is about to go off, and then you plug and you are talking about that.
Yes. It's true. It's true. Yes, you are right. You are right.
You appropriate something that doesn't belong to you.
You steal it.
Steal it.
What is it? What is it?
That's borrowing.
Oh, come on.
But the power that you are using, have you paid for it?
No. Oh, come on. They are taking the power.
You use it to charge your phone. Privilege.
Hey, they are garnishing it.
So it's like you walk into a restaurant and then they are serving food and then you just go and start enjoying the food. Because there is a buffet going on and people are serving themselves. So I'm walking there, I'm saying that's basically what it is. So that thing that you are using is like you walking in there, almost a bit here, since morning happening. I remember those days, when we were the early days of our practice as journalists. You know, you walk out when you are tired, you look at things, hey, well, there's some program going on.
Solidarity.
Those things are so easy, nobody really bothers. But now people are so mean. You know, the wahala is affecting everybody, so everybody is calculating the number of people who are coming. They are going to use where they are picking. How many? If you want two fish, they say no, one for now. Thank God.
I think the use of the internet to engage in illegalities or abuse human rights as defined in a particular jurisdiction.
Hey, what else? That's the fact.
This is the law.
Yeah.
So,
and there are people here who don't speak the truth.
right? So I'm saying that a situation where we use the internet to engage in illegalities or abuse human rights in a particular jurisdiction, to the laws of a particular jurisdiction, some places they might be okay, in other places they might not be okay. So it is being defined in terms of jurisdictional, you find yourself in.
Yes. But to you again, what comes to mind is the element of crime, right? If you have taken it beyond the crime, you have brought in another element which is abuse of rights, right?
Yes.
Because some abuse of rights might not necessarily be criminal, right?
Yeah. When you abuse somebody's rights. For instance.
And then
No, the reason why I'm asking you is that because you are giving us a different perspective. Now we look at why we are doing the exercise. Because when you hear the word cybercrime, all we think about because you could destroy everything. So you have taken it beyond the usual suspect of fraud, crime, defuse somebody, stealing from somebody, and you are looking at a much more what we would consider to be sophisticated. Where sometimes the ordinary person is annoying and saying, why should I bother my head about that? Somebody has hacked into somebody's computer and makes it work. Next time, don't allow them to hack into your computer.
At all.
Right? Yeah. But does that usually come to mind when people hear cybercrime?
No, it comes to
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you have taken us to that level. But the idea is we're trying to look at what usually comes to mind. Then at the end of the exercise, we will see a picture. We will see a picture. And we'll see what that picture will be. Right? Anybody else? Sarah, I will call you.
So I think what I wrote has been mentioned.
So mention it and explain it in your own way.
Cybercrime are crimes committed in the internet.
Okay.
Yes, or crimes associated to the internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody, let's take one more. What's the name? Self-platform.
Yeah, I think
What's wrong?
I consider cybercrime as impersonation.
Okay.
Because when the
What is impersonation? No.
impersonation is when you pretend to be somebody you're not.
You're not. Okay.
So, for example, it's one of the common things you see on Facebook, this is on social media, where these malams use people's accounts.
I get them all the time sending me invites. And they are so annoying. But you see, they have some characteristics. You see them with some weird dressing and very blurry, and then they still. So I really just block them. Yes, I see they're blocking.
And apart from them,
That's good,
you
I'm
see
okay.
other people's information to retain fraud on the internet. For example, these lottery guys and other stuff. So I also see cybercrime as information.
So then you've given us two dimensions here. The aspect of impersonation. To what effect? Why are they impersonating?
So they connect with somebody they are not to get
To commit crime, right? Or to do something, whatever it is, they still have an intention to do something that is really not in your interest, right? That's brilliant. So the aspect of impersonation is key. All right, let's leave that one more. Last one. Also, are you telling our people space? What is the space? And that space, is it geographical? I don't know
It has
geographical.
no boundary.
There's no boundary. And that's the challenge, right? And is that positive or negative? It has to be positive, right? But that positivity has also exposed us to a lot of wahala and challenges. Because then now you have to have a much more consistent and uniform way of addressing challenges and all these things, right? Yes, but I like that point. The reason why I was just pushing you is because this concept of the internet having a space, right? And people's understanding or perception of what that space is, and whether people are even conflicted, whether it's a private or what, it's a public space. And a lot of things happen there. And it's sad. I remember the very early days of Facebook, right? And it was a badge of honor for people to show how many friends they have, especially the young ones. They went to say that. So, HR people, the smart HR managers, they were just sending friends requests to their employees. And some of them were just accepting them. They knew what they were about, just to see what they were going about. And so I had this client, I was in Sheffield Law Center, who came and said, they've asked her to come for a disciplinary hearing. And so she wanted somebody to go with her. And I said, what's the matter? So she's not too sure what really happened, but she said she should come for a disciplinary hearing. I said, are you sure? What has happened within the last 2 weeks? She said, I just took time off on a Thursday. I think she went to work on Thursday. The Friday was supposed to be a bank holiday, right? So the Friday was a bank holiday, and then she phoned in sick. She phoned in sick and said she was not well. So she took the Monday, the following Monday off. So she had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. She said she was not well. That's fine. But what she didn't realize was that she went to the beach. And they took pictures in the beginning. And then posted it on Facebook. Oh, here is me there. So when we went for the hearing, they said, can you explain why disciplinary action should not be taken against you? Because that is deception, that is lying. And it was embarrassing.
And so what we tried to do was very technical. We wanted to say to the employers, but you guys, you have naughty. You have no business going into privacy. And the issue was, is really that space private? In any case, we sent the invite and she accepted it. And when you accept, what's the implication? You are basically inviting me into your private, assuming it's even private. You are inviting me into your private space. It's like you inviting somebody to your house. They say, when you came to my house, why did you look at my wife's face?
She was actually distressed. And she went to be.
Live streaming.
So it was picture. I mean, there was no live streaming. Just what all we are saying is that we've seen this. When you said you were what? See, so come and explain why this is. So there is the kind of proving. They are saying that this is our evidence. Tell us why this is not. And remember, they would have done their. And we have to just, and it was true. A lot of people, this is even just as small. A lot of people got into a lot of trouble. People go in there and say nasty things about their employees. They are very, very nasty things. Oh, I've just finished well, and this horrible manager. I don't even know. I'm looking for a better job. And then, yeah, they were saying a whole lot of things. And even up to today, people say a lot of things on social media about their employers.
Yes.
They don't realize. So that's why I just picked up on that aspect of the space, because that will come along during our discussions as well. So basically, when you look at all that you have said, Madam, can we get the next one?
How do we see them? This one, what do we call it? Has everybody had the privilege of having that in their hand?
Hey, this is not a privilege.
That thing is so, I still can't find my head around why they would arrest somebody who is not resisting, who is a very law-abiding person, and then they stop putting it to 3 minutes. But it's the power. It's just to tell you are under arrest. But you could do that in another way. I think it's a colonial and outmoded.
You are right.
And it doesn't make sense. So you, the media, should start taking up. It's so embarrassing. They put you. When you are a suspect,
And attach it.
but that one, it is with the media, that thing we do, that's bad.
Hey.
Yeah, but the police, you see, the police has certain protection. Yeah, it's wrong. Because everybody is innocent of the law.
Proving guilty.
So at that stage, I am not guilty. And when you put my picture out there with a handcuff, what does it imply? And it goes back to what we will be talking about, and it goes back to what what's the name again? I can't pronounce the name properly. Is it Oyinda? Like what Oyinda was talking about earlier on, about the way, so it's a connotation that is given to things and then the detailed images, the meaning. What's the difference between? So I put a sweater here. What is the connotation for that? What does that mean? I bring a sweater, or a jacket.
It's cool.
Right?
A cool.
But that jacket, it means it's a clothes. It's something to wear. But then what is the deeper meaning of that?
The environment.
The environment. So when you look at the way the issue of cybercrime is portrayed, and what you all said, there is a literal meaning, and then there is a what? The deeper meaning. And sometimes they put it out there with the literal meaning, but then it has consequences. The deeper meaning has consequences for everybody else. But when you look at what you talk about the issue of internet, right? You talk about internet. Have you seen some phone there? Right? Has it got anything to do with internet? Right? And then you've seen some keyboard, right? And then there is a handcuff, right? And the one I like is about the password thing. Right? What is the danger of having that thing exposed? When somebody gets your password, they can do a whole lot of things to it. Right? And then you see that card there. That card. The Visa card. The way it's caused a lot of people when people get hold of that thing. And now they've improved. Because previously all they need to do is to get hold of that long number in front of it. They didn't have the last three at the back. And people were using it to do a lot of stuff. By using your card to buy stuff and all those things, right? So basically, when you look at the portrayal of cybercrime, there is this element, all that we talked about, there is those elements there. Does that make sense? Right, madam? And you try to, you try to allude to this that indirectly there is no standard meaning, there's no standard definition. Right? But it involves computer and some sort of networking. And the computer may have been used in the commission of the crime, or it may be the target itself. The reason. The target. The computer itself can also be a target. And the computer too can be used what? In the commission of the crime. But at any point in time, there will always be that element of a network. Yeah? And did that reflect in some of the things you said? Okay. Other prominent definitions, it covers any illegal behavior. By the way, any illegal behavior. But how many times do we not see some behavior on the internet and we don't consider that to be a cybercrime? But it says any illegal behavior directed by means of what? Electronic operations that targets the security of computer systems and the data processed by them. Any criminal activity which takes place through computers or what? Networks. I want you to mark the word illegal behavior directed by means of electronic operations, and then we'll look at the consequences of that later. I'm sure this slide will be made available to you later, right? So, apart from making your own notes for clarity purposes, you shouldn't worry. Now, let's reconcile the definition that we just seen and the teaser that we talk about. What does the definition of cybercrime imply? What does it imply? What does it imply? You said that earlier in another way. So we look at you can go back and then look at what the definition says, and then juxtapose it with some of the things you just told me about what comes to mind when you hear the word cybercrime. And I'm saying that what does that imply? What does the definition of cybercrime imply?
Illegality.
Illegality of one sort or the other. What else?
An attack.
Right? An attack on who?
Either the computer.
Or computer can be used to commit the crime. But at the heart of it, there is an element of criminality, right? But as he said, who defines that criminality? Is there a standard definition of criminality? Jurisdiction matters. And when things are restricted by jurisdiction, what are some of the challenges it poses? What are jurisdictional issues? Ivan. Is it Ivan or Evans? Evans. N-O-I-N. Ivan. Ivan Egan. Auntie. Mike Egan. You know, we used to have what is it? Are you related to the former? Was it the Central Regional? Was it? Yeah. He was the one who said, "Oh, I catch on there or drink the more and drive, or drive into a more and drink." Even the Almighty God answered him. Kawaris never said it to me now online. Yeah, so yeah.
The problem is are more have to do with the inequality because you do not find yourself in a person who kind of state you are either criminalized or not based on your
Yeah, and how does that empower and how does that give impetus to those who are engaged in that criminality? Do you realize that some of these cyber crime, people move around, and it becomes very difficult to trace them and track them because of the jurisdictional issue. So what within Ghana in our criminal code might be considered to be illegal, might not be illegal, and where the exercise took place and all those things all come into play. Yeah. So there is a chart. You will see the chart, Madam, coming out that chart. You know, this chart will just give you a broader picture of really what we say cybercrime. What are we talking about? So there is a traditional aspect from the teaser that you gave to me earlier on. You see, there is a traditional aspect to it. Cybercrime is not a new phenomenon. You get that? It's not a new phenomenon in terms of the criminality. Those things that now are being done on the space, internet, we used to have them in a much more traditional way, isn't it? Yeah. Which is like theft, fraud, stealing. You mentioned that, right? What you didn't talk about is pornography in other jurisdictions. It's still a crime, isn't it? Although in other places we have legalized it, some people are saying they don't see why in Africa, especially in Asia, we are mixing morality and religion. We are confused. I decided to go on the internet and watch things. I feed my eyes. You see what? That's what people are. That's how we can do it. So long as that is not affecting the health and well-being of the economy. As a matter of fact, it's a big industry. You know that. They're employing a lot of people. A lot of people are feeding their family out of it. Pastors and malams are taking money from these people. They don't ask where the source of money is. And then go and sit down and say they pay for them to forget to give the children. Right? So you see that there is a traditional element to it, and then there is a high-tech cybercrime, online bank robbery, online fraud, online stalking. Do you know that that is also cybercrime? Online stalking. And what is online stalking? When you stalk someone.
Monitoring the person.
Yeah. There was an issue where somebody was talking on the phone. Right? So he had a crush on this young lady. He didn't have the courage to tell her, but he got the telephone number. He will call her, she picks the call, he won't say anything. He won't say anything. Right? Hello, he won't say anything. The lady will hang down. Within the next 5 minutes, he will call her. And then the idiot will come and stand in front of her house. Weekends, you just stand there. You won't say anything, then you go away. So she reported him. And he was arrested. He was arrested, but they didn't arrest him for stalking. They arrested him for assault. Oh. Yeah, they charged him for assault. You know it's an assault. Assault doesn't mean you punch my jaw or no. Only when you make somebody fear for your life, you've committed an act of assault. You can arrest. Yeah. So, and then there is the internet technology, you know, phishing, email hijacking, and all those things, right? And then there is the issue of, okay, so all these things, what does that tell us? It tells us that when we talk about cybercrime, they are not new phenomena, right? They have been in existence already. But now we see increasingly the portrayal of cybercrime within a particular frame. And who is helping to create that frame? The media. And where is that trend coming from? And we'll look at that and the way, especially the Western media, portrays that. And what motivates people to commit cybercrime? What is some of the motivation? For some, it's not about economics, you know that. For some, the motivation is not really economic. For some, it's just curiosity. Some just for shady reasons. Just for shady reasons. At this Caroline and her fact-checking thing, they've been doing fact-checking and embarrassing people. Okay, good to let me just do something to just annoy them. Or, Internet4Good. They are coming to do this workshop. They put in a lot of resources and effort and time into it. You know, let me just go into their system and then destroy everything. And they have a network where they will go and say, "Shall I succeeded?" The fact that somebody has been vulnerable, and because you know everything is in class. You go to class 1, right? You graduate and all those things. And so those hackers and those people, they also have categories. So the fact that he's been able to break into a high profile incident, disorganize and make you so happy. They are sadists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not only about the and you need to understand, you appreciate these dynamics, the psychological aspect of some of these things for you to appreciate what motivates people. Because and the focus so far has been too much into the economics. Oh, it's all about some poor African guys or some greedy guys who want to just do another greedy Caucasian woman somewhere who's like 70-year-old. She sees some 80-year-old African man and she's happy. Right? And so, yeah, you go to a young woman, you go and think about your grandchildren. You see 80-year-old African guy, you are abusing him. But he's also abusing you. You are abusing each other. That's what they're doing. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. Because somebody tells you, oh, there's this money in an account, and the account has been dormant for a while. So if you help me, I will also help you. Then quickly, you yourself, you are a criminal. You have to have a criminal mindset for you to actually fall for some of these things. You know. So the point I'm trying to use this chart to illustrate is that when we talk about cybercrime, it is not a new phenomenon. It has been in existence in other forms, but the new dynamics which has been engineered by the if you like the internet or the cyberspace is something that is giving us a different dimension. And now we're beginning to learn about what is going on in other places. And you will see in the next few slides that will come that the big guys like the US and all those things, they take the hard beating when it comes to cyber crime. But they create the impression as if it is the prison of Africa and all those things. But they themselves, they really, really take a lot of beating. So it's not just about the money, it's about curiosity for fun, ego, personal reasons, some people vengeance, and then of course we can't rule out the issue of the political reasons as well, right? And why do they continue to flourish? Because of the inherent vulnerability of computer internet. You know, things are changing. You are beginning to understand one thing about this, and then they bring in another dimension. By the time you get there, they've gone in another dimension. So the more they keep on rolling, people have to do the catch up. And these guys are very, very sophisticated, and they have a very good network. So that's one of the things. And then the economics number of computers connected to criminals is very wide. You know, and when issues about money is involved, you know, people will not relent. They will continue and continue and continue. You know. So basically, this is what this chart is supposed to draw attention to. Any questions, any comments so far? Yes.
I want to find out why is it that people commit internet fraud? It's very difficult for them to be punished instead of a deterrent to others.
Okay. Who wants to respond to that? Why is it that people who commit internet fraud, it's difficult to punish them? Because what is punishment? When you want to punish somebody, what are the intentions? What is the purpose of punishment?
To reform.
To reform and then do what? Yeah. Deter, yeah? Because when somebody realizes that, oh, this guy did this and they've done this to him, they fish. But actually, the criminologists have also, there is a school of thought by some criminologists that really, sometimes it really doesn't be there. It depends on the physiology and the psychology and the motivation for engaging in that type of criminality. For some, there's nothing. So, you know, there are people who will come and steal something and say, for job, and we are actually. Right? Some people, they just, yeah. So, but one of the reasons why it is difficult is the issue of the jurisdiction that we talked about. And then the difficulty in defining what cybercrime is.
And the availability of the legal framework.
The legal framework and the resources and then the capacity. You know, Ghana, we have a cybercrime unit at the police, but even training them to understand, that's why I'm saying that the things keep changing.
And even the law was just part of you.
But the thing is, you know, when we pass laws, especially in developing countries, those laws we pass, they are laws that the advanced countries have tried and they've seen loopholes and they have changed it 3-4 times. And then we are coming to start. You know, Ghana's criminal code is since 1960. Yeah. And we are using that to prosecute people. So recently, when that, the lady who was accused of indecent exposure. What is indecent exposure in 1960 can certainly not be indecent exposure today. Because I am not that old, but I remember very well when we were young, when you are not properly clothed and you walk to Mokola, they'll beat you, they'll only Mokola will beat you. They'll tell you are exposing too much, just the car, and they'll give you their part to rap. Oh, you're on here. Come on, take this and wear. Just because you are showing just above your knee. So what is indecent is really problematic in this 21st century. But we are using the 1960 law to deal with indecency. Right? And that UK, that 1960 Act that we inherited from UK, they've changed theirs more than 12 times. We are still holding on to it. So this is one of the things. So you're right. It's about the pace in which we change our laws to catch up with new developments and all those things. But it doesn't really mean that they are not really prosecuting people who engage in cybercrime. They do. They do. But do we hear that in the media? No. We will look. That's one of the things we'll be looking at in tomorrow's session. The media reports only on the dramatic aspect of it, right? Oh yeah, somebody has done that. But once they arrest the person and then they send the person to, because you know prosecution takes a long process. Give you operate from the court. You know, you take a case there today, you think that tomorrow the person is going to go to jail. No. So by the time they jail the person, the media has lost interest. It's no longer of a high news value. And because it's no longer a high news value, you don't really get, even if they give it, they'll put it in some corner somewhere. Or they will mention it in passing on radio, on television. So that's one of the things. So they don't really report, but the weight and the space they give to it is minimal compared to the space they give to it when it's a breaking story. Okay, so now, all forms of cybercrime. Right, and we've talked about that already. Example, one can look at offenses such as pedophilia. You know what pedophilia is? We don't have that in Ghana, right? We only arrest them and either in what's it called? What's the word for sleeping with somebody who
Defilement.
Defilement, yeah. Right? And we don't have a register. In advanced countries, they have a register. If you are an idiot and you are attracted to children and you are arrested and you are prosecuted successfully, they put you on the register. So when you move from maybe Opegwa and come to Accra, as soon as you come to Accra, they will flag that. So everybody there knows that.
Take care of your children.
Everybody keep an eye on this idiot. Everywhere you go. So they're trying to fight it in the UK Supreme Court to say that is against their fundamental human rights. Okay, my money answer. So give us an opportunity to reform. But they are on the register. You can go there and check and see who and who. So sometimes you want to apply for a job, the first thing they do is check, especially when you are going to work with vulnerable people, children and women and all those things, and elderly people, they will check. And here we don't have. So that's how come you see that somebody commits a crime and then he continues committing it. Why should somebody who has actually defiled a child before eventually get an opportunity to work in a school? That's crazy. Why should somebody who has stolen from his employers before get the opportunity to work in the financial services sector in a bank? The person is not a fit and proper person to work in the financial services sector. So these are all forms of cybercrime, fraud, pornography, and all those things. And if you know any of them, can anybody else mention some of the old cybercrimes that people think about? I'm just giving you a clue. Because all these things, there is an element of internet on it, right? Especially the failure, they go and be watching, and these children, they are innocent. And they will go on, they will learn. Yeah, because it's important. Yeah. And you know what they're doing with that? You know, there's a bigger challenge as well. You know, there was somebody was prosecuted for that in Ghana, where they denied the state some resources that it was Ghana. Yes. So, but these things are not things that we see as part of the modern narrative of cybercrime. But these are things that have been in existence in one way or the other. But all of a sudden, we hear the Yahoo and then the Zakaria and then the 419 that comes into mind because it fits into a particular narrative where they want to shift the burden of God, irresponsibility when it comes to Africa and the developing countries. Yes. So earlier on during the teaser as well, you indirectly categorize cybercrime. I don't know whether you know that you've done that, but that's basically what you did. So computer integrity crimes, which is the crimes against the machine. The computers themselves, they have the I think because of the
no, when it gets clear there.
So should avoid going. Let me just come and talk to you. Alright, so computer integrity crimes, those are the crimes against the computers themselves, the machines. And then the computer assisted crimes, I think you said it earlier on, right? There is that's the one you said, right? Crimes using the machine and computer content crimes, like the pornography and cyber violence and all. You know that you can commit violence on the internet. You know that happens, harassment, intimidation, and all those things. Bullying. Recently, they said there was this guy who bullied, yeah. And another one, he said he bullied, then they also bullied him. So two of them make it right, but eventually, right, you know. So that comes into the way forward. In terms of if you are saying you have a bigger problem at hand and you want to try and deal with it, are you dealing with the root cause? Because it's a big business, those computer games. It's big business. The international corporate organizations are making lots of money out of it. They are making a lot of tax out of it. But they don't realize that actually what they're doing, it's also creating some monsters. You begin all your small, I don't know whether any of you have had a punch from your boy or this. You see something and he wants to try it on you. Oh, what? It's because that's what he sees. He wants to really try and put it into practice. So that is the way forward. I mean, if we really mean that we should look at the bigger picture. So there is a short, medium, and long-term thing. But this can only be done in a particular holistic framework in terms of legal frameworks and all those things. Yeah? Brilliant. I'm happy about your knowledge of some of these things. Yes. Right. Some broad classifications as well. Financial fraud. Right. And that would involve any dishonest misrepresentation of facts intended to let another to do or refrain from doing something which causes loss. Right. Cyber terrorism. You know about cyber terrorism, right? Intimidating or coercing and that. And the cyber terrorism, a lot of governments suffer from that. You know that. But they suffer in silence. Yeah, because can you imagine your government coming out to tell you that, oh, we are suffering from cyber terrorism? And our own government. And they are suffering from cyber, and they are winning, what are we going to do? So they don't come. It's like what happens? You know, the people who suffer a lot of financial crimes are the financial services sector, the banks. And they can't have money to say. Because if they say they will have bank runs, people will be running there and taking their money. So banks, you steal their money, they try and see whether they can find legal ways. Sometimes they don't want the thing to be publicized.
At all.
And I had some very young lady, about 23 years, and she was diverting clients' money into all sort of. And she was diverting it into this guy's account. They said they are the guy says she's not his wife, but she says that's her husband. You know. But basically she was diverting all this money into the bank's account after 23 years. And then the bank got to know, and they wanted to go to the prosecution, and they were trying to see whether they could retrieve. And they just let assemble and exactly right. Because they don't want them. Because if people know, it's at the highest form of what? Recklessness and negligence. And so, cyber terrorism, it involves intimidating or coercing a government or an organization by launching a computer-based attack against computers, networks, or the information stored on them. And we suffer that all the time. You know, recently we suffered. Recently, they didn't want to say it, only the media did consign to push it out there. Right? But they will talk about the Yahoo boys, right? And the police will be after them and all those things. You are something you don't want to talk about it. Right? And governments, our own systems. That's why, there's a challenge on this SIM registration thing, right, in court. About how that reconciles with our data protection law. People are taking all sorts of information. And nobody knows the health and security of those information and whose hands it's going to be. And you get all these annoying text messages from people trying to ask you to come and take loans
by force.
All those things. I call them and catch them all the time. I call and say, you go, I will punish you. They don't send me that here, but they will do it. And they say, because what you want to do, you can take them through a legal process, but it's tedious. It's tedious, and they know. And they get these things from established institutions. Some of them get them from controllers, some of them get them from register. They get them from.
Yeah.
Then I need to be more fighting. Yes. All right, madam. Yeah, cyber extortion, when a website emails them out of that system is subjected to offending with repeated denial of service. Have you noticed that is also a cyber, So you are supposed to get a service and then they are blocking you, denying you, all those things are part of it. And then cyber sex trafficking, the transportation of victims, and sometimes live streaming of coerced sexual acts or sexual assault on webcam. I know we don't want to admit watching some of these things because of the religious, only we are watched. I watch it for educational I can teach Sarah and some of these things. Although they don't admit that we watch some of these things. It's like when you have a client and they tell you about issues between they and their husband. They say, well, when we go to court, these issues will come out in public. I had a client who was the man was, I don't know, he was fortunately engaged in some crazy stuff. She did it initially and she got fed up and she thought, unreasonable behavior. So she wanted to know the basis of divorce. I said, well, that act for me is unreasonable. What is asking you to do? And you are an idiot. You allow that. So I said, no, she didn't have, but now you okay, fine. But I said, but that will come up and forth. And sometimes you may have to explain how that thing is done.
Yes.
Exactly. One pastor, when he was asked to come and testify about what, and then they were like, and it was to do with rape. And they were talking about anal and all this.
Plain.
But these things are all categories of what? Cybercrime. And the reason why I'm taking us through this, as media, we need to appreciate some of these things so that we don't fall for the narrow narrative of what is cybercrime that tends to only project the financial 419 Yahoo thing. It's broader than that. And the broadness of it, which is negative, that same broadness also is making people do things positively, as she said earlier on. The youth are using it for positive things. And we need to encourage them and not to just narrow issues about cybercrime to some of these things. Obscene or offensive content, distasteful content on websites and other electronic communications. In some instances, these communications will be illegal. Right? And then it all depends on like we talked about earlier on, about the countries. So what is obscene in one country will not necessarily be obscene in another country. People will find themselves in Europe and they see things and they are like, wow. I don't know whether I told my students the story about, when somebody is married, they go away, the boys go away. What do they call it? Bachelor's night. Me and the Zongo boys, so these things. So one of my colleagues was getting married, so he decided that he would book a cheap. They have this cheap flight. We call it EasyJet. You can book a flight from London to Amsterdam for £20. And now if you book it in advance, so about 6 of us, we went there. So when we went there, this place in Amsterdam is hell. That place is bad. It's bad. Red light district. If you are pure than pure, don't go there. So we all decided we go and clean our eyes more. So we went there. You see people in the the way they put dresses in glasses and you see people like that. You like the chingalinga like me, you go down. You like the section. If you see that, so we go and we decided we'll go in there. So we go and in there. And we went to a section. I'm telling you where they are having live sex. If you want to join, you can join.
Hey.
If you don't want to join, you want to watch, you can watch. And usually the rules are that when you enter there, everybody has to go naked. But you have an option not to go naked. So we go in there and we are like, wow. So there's this guy, he is like a pastor, but he's a friend, so he joined us. So when we were watching there, he started, and I didn't want to go. So then he started crying like a baby.
He should have gone
Then
out.
he said to me, he said, Alaji, one baby I wait, he said, now me young power has straight, and never go in. Opportunity to repent. He was crying like a baby, so they sacked us. They took all of us. So these idiots will come and explain. Why is this guy crying like that? He was crying. So they sacked us. Another place is, but when I'm looking at I use that to illustrate how jurisdictions can define or determine what is acceptable and what, and in school. And it's cool. And a lot of Ghanaians and Nigerians have got into trouble where they go into some of these brothels, they have a fun with the lady, and they don't want to pay. And they get arrested. Because this nonsense about, I can do whatever. No, you have to, because they pay tax. They pay tax. But in Africa, we don't want to accept some of this. Even my Accra, we are struggling to legalize it. Whereas when you go to other jurisdictions, you see a long queue in Toronto. This long road to Toronto. You see all people, 80 years, 70 years, queuing. What is people queuing for? They are going to collect a buy weed. Hey! That's amazing. Yeah, that they just cool. So the point I'm making is that the obscene or offensive nature of the cybercrime is jurisdiction compliant. It depends on the jurisdiction you find yourself around. Ad frauds can be broken down into identity fraud that you talked about earlier on, attribution fraud, and ad fraud services. You can have time. Identity fraud is about the impersonation and all those things, right? Go on to the next page. I don't want to spend much time. This one aims to impersonate real user behavior. That you go on some sites and they're trying to impersonate real user behavior, the clicks. Because those clicks and all those things, they are money. A lot of the time we don't really know that our sites and all those things, we really can make money about the number of visitors and all that. That's how come they have this annoying thing where you have to tick and show that you are a human being. Because some of these attackers, they're able to go in there, create that software that would be sending traffic there as if it is human beings that is going there, but it's not human beings. It's a system, because the more people who visit their websites, the more they make money out of that when they do their analytics. So all these things are very sophisticated systems of cybercrime. Major cybercrimes of the 21st century. I can see that if you have time, when you get a slide, you can take a look. At least 300,000 computers from 150 countries were affected, right? And it's crazy. It has affected over 80 companies and caused a total loss of over $10 billion. So it's a huge, huge threat to our, ecosystem. Yes. Top 20 countries of cybercrime. When you hear, let's go back a bit. When you hear the top 20 countries of cybercrime, what are some of the names that will come to mind? Nigeria. Okay? Is it your country?
She knows.
Let's top 20 countries of cybercrime. You hear Nigeria. People will be, and because when you see the narrative in the media, it's like, Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, all they talk about. But that thing that is actually zoom on is just a tiny aspect of it. As a matter of fact, young guys in Nigeria and Ghana are doing things with the internet that is breaking, that even the international community are picking up, the Western community are picking up those things. And they don't talk about that. So when you hear the way you think Nigeria and all this, but look at the top 20. Madam, look at the top 20. It's very easy. So look at United States is number 1. Okay, so 23%, followed by China, Germany, Britain, Brazil, Spain, Italy. Where is Nigeria?
No.
Where is any African country? The closest you come to an African country is South Africa, which is about the 14th. You get a picture? But the narrative we see in the media doesn't pitch that. That's not there,
It's not close.
Oh, sorry, okay. Okay. Sorry, yes, South Korea. Yeah. So there's no African country there at all.
No. We have to look at it.
Yeah, but
in Africa, even though we frequently internet communication we can't compare it to these countries. So we need to look at the methodology of how they arrive at
Exactly.
Even though in Africa we know that only will contend that there's a lot of Yahoo going on in Nigeria and then in Ghana also, it cannot be on the same floor as those countries. There's a lot of multinational companies there that are taking data to and we don't experience that here in Ghana. So it needs to be put in the context.
Okay, yeah. Of course, yeah. Of course, there is a context to it, but the context the most important context that I want us to appreciate is the fact that the narrative unfairly highlights because that whichever way you look at it, that Yahoo and Zakaria is that, and when you look at even the narrative, it's a very tiny aspect of cybercrime. When you look at cybercrime, the broader and the big money aspects of it, those things don't come across anywhere near at all. When we talk about cybercrime that is hitting banks, it hasn't come anywhere near. But yet, when we hear cybercrime, somebody has asked somebody to send them money, or somebody has transferred some money illegally. How much is it? And one of the reasons why this thing is becoming even very difficult now for us is some of the anti-money laundering laws. The anti-money laundering laws is making it even difficult for those for those, if you like, opportunistic cyber criminals in Ghana and Nigeria, because that's what they are. Some of those ones who have the sophisticated aspect of it, there are only a few. This guy that was arrested outside. What's talking? No, he is and they have a network all over the place. So they get somebody in maybe Singapore they want to dupe. He is based here in Ghana. Quickly he would make contacts and find out who has anybody in Singapore who can make available an account so that we put money in there. That's how they operate. So it's like a chain, and sometimes it's difficult to trace. You understand? Those are the sophisticated aspects of those things. But when we talk about the bigger 20 countries, that actually the top 20 countries of cybercrime, then the Africa really doesn't feature into it at all. Right? Okay. Right, and then this is the most low-risk countries for cyber threats: Denmark, Germany, United States. Now when it comes to the threats, there is no risk because of they are building much more, if you like, barriers and sophistication, right? And you can see the pattern now. You know, when it comes to the low risk, because it involves a lot of what? Resources. You need a lot of resources to protect yourself from all of these things. You can see the Western world performing very well there because they have the resources. But then look at the countries that are very high risk. You see them? Myanmar, Cambodia, Honduras. You see them? Zimbabwe is featuring them. Probably is thinking about presidency. He's thinking about fighting to stay in power. What's it? Museveni is thinking about changing the constitution to stay in power. Then you say they should think about investing in the protecting. The priority car. You get the point? Yeah. Let's move on. But any questions so far? So what are let's go back. So when you look at the characteristics of cybercrime, it can be committed easily because of the facilities or the platforms that you need. And it requires few resources, depending on what type of cybercrime, of course, you are engaged in committing. And it can be committed in a specific jurisdiction without the offenders being physically present there. Right? So you can commit a cybercrime against somebody in Australia, but you are based in some village somewhere in Ghana. So long as you have the facility to do that. Like your hand was something. Yeah. Yeah. So what in terms of So when it comes to the low risk countries, in terms of the threats, so they have put in place a mechanism, but they are still suffering. So the US, for instance, it has to do with financial services crime. Financial services, a lot of the financial services, and a lot of that there as well. In China, it has to do with the hacking and what do you call it? There is a word they use for espionage activities and all those things. So they are each of them have their own categories that is peculiar to them. It comes in, but what I'm saying is that it is the portrayal, the narrative that is making it look like it's a bigger thing. But it's really the money. In terms of the resources involved and the money involved, doesn't come anywhere near a threat to our international economic well-being. No.
$500.
$500, $1 million. We're talking about big money. See, I used to have this very, I don't know how to call him, but he is a criminal. Yeah, he is. He's a friend, right? And he had some friends in Canada. These guys, they work in some of the top. I don't mention those banks because that would not be fair. They work in some of these top banks. And they manage the account of these confused sheikhs in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, and all those things. And these guys have so much resources there. When they take $1 million out of the account, they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And you can't be, so this guy, what they do is that he is there in Pamplona, he lives in Pamplona, in Spain, and another guy lives in Zaragoza. They are there. Wherever you want to travel in the world, all you need to do is just tell them, they'll buy you a ticket. I was there one day, he told me that, have you gone to watch match at Newcombe before? I said, no, I'll buy you a ticket. Buy a ticket one day, say yes. He bought me a ticket, we went there to play. Then he was taking me, he has booked a place for me to go and have a haircut. And all. Later on, I was trying to find out how much. It was crazy money. Crazy money. And if you don't know for these people going to have a haircut there. But it was what is funny. Right? So they buy these things for people. We're talking about big money here. You understand? And so the narrative about Yahoo crime and all those things, and most of this Yahoo crime and all those things, sometimes we report about the breaking, but we don't follow up. And sometimes even the exchange of the resources actually are halted and all those things. But I'm not saying that it is not a concern. It is a concern. But I'm saying that there is some disproportionality in terms of the weights and then the portrayal that is given to it by the Western media.
Does that mean that the media, the West, depending on the like effectively illegally? Is that when the news break about how much the banks in the US, for instance, have got to the quota to that's what and then still from that.
But do you even know why the Hush Puppy story became a big story? Because of the Western institutions that were involved.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't report it. But that's why I'm saying that when we come to do the issue about reporting about Africa in the Western media, it will come to light. Why do we have this sort of narrative? Why is it always that, yes, we don't hear about what happens in their part, but we hear about what happens. They report it all as well, but do we get that yet?
We don't get
because of the proximity. Would that be news to you?
No.
It wouldn't be news to you, so you wouldn't be interested.
Right.
But the CNN others talk about it there. Right? They talk about it, but for you, would it be? They are interested in what is going on here because in terms of the interconnectivity and then the impact that they claim it has on them when crime is going on here, it is huge. And you will see, do the people in the West, do they care about how African media portray them? Mm-hmm. Do we care about how the West portrays us? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for something like this, when the Western media is going to report on that, they will report on member of parliament impersonated. Right? Now it raises it, but there is really no money involved. We don't have any evidence that money has been exchanged and all those things. And even if, what is the amount involved? Maybe you pay me 2,000 cedis to recruit you into immigration and all those things. Very minimal. But we are talking about very big. But this will find its way into them because the person involved is an elite person in terms of news values. And these people make news. So everything that has to do with them make news. And then the issue involved also they have framed it in such a way that it has also become a high news value. So it's a very interesting dynamics, and I think Internet4Good, it is very good that you are really trying to get us to understand, because especially we the African or developing countries, if we don't do something about some of these things, they will worry us.
Yeah.
Let's make some big progress. Right? So this is just to talk about what promotes cybercrime, right? And we talk about that indirectly. We talk about the socio-economic issues. Do we agree that socio-economic issues promote it? Right? And then, what is the word? Psychosocial. Do we have any psychologists here? Right? And then the geopolitical element, the psychosocial, and we talked about it, that the philosophy, the psychological aspect of some of these things that people do. Some of them do it first for the fun of it, some of them do it first for the shakedown. And then the geopolitical aspect of it as well, like China, Russia having an issue with, if you like, America and their systems and all those things. Yeah, right. And what is the impact? In 2016, Ghana's financial institutions were reported to experience more than 400,000 incidents related to more 44 million related to spam emails and 280 related to contents. And according to Kenyan-based IT and business advisory, cybercrime cost African economies about 3.5 billion in 2017. 3.5 billion. It's big money to us, but it's chicken feed. It's chicken feed when we're talking about what goes on in the bigger cyber. But that does not mean that it's not having an impact. It is having an impact. But remember, what we are looking at is the way we are narrating. Is it causing us more good than harm? And if it's causing us harm, then what can we do to not necessarily take our eye off the fact that we need to also put our lenses on the issue of cybercrime, but we shouldn't do it in a way that causes us more grief. So all these beautiful things, all these wonderful things that the African youth are doing, entrepreneurship, social enterprise, and all those things, these innovations and all those things, we don't hear about them. Because if you're able to talk about them, then maybe somebody else might want to be interested in that, invent in it and all this environment problem. Yes. It's just about the same issues about cybercrime. Let's move on in terms of the impact. And we are seeing the framing of Africa in terms of cybercrime. Right? The framing we see that Africa is the safe haven for online fraudsters with impunity. But is that the case? No. Do we get is it the safe haven for online fraudsters with impunity? The Nigerian guy who was all over the world, he has hacked into systems not in Africa. And the word impunity, what does that connote? Like we don't care. But we have laws, we have things in place that we're doing, of course, with our limited resources. And the fight against cybercrime is lagging behind. Is there an element of truth in that? Huh? In terms of the bigger boys, we are lagging behind because it requires a lot of resources, as we said earlier on. Wow. Okay, let's move on. Yeah.
Those ones we are saying are minute, they are saying people and activities that lead to the advance.
Small.
So we don't impact it on it.
Yeah. Right. So some of the inadequate investigative powers or technological capacities to address the problem. So sometimes when you read the stories that come out of cybercrime, they create the impression that people, they don't even investigate these things well, like you said, Sarah, that we don't hear these things and all these things, right? Preoccupied pressing issues. That we are preoccupied with issues such as alleviating poverty, the AIDS crisis, the fuel crisis, political instability, ethnic instability. In other words, the framing is like, these Africans here, because they are interested in other things. They are preoccupied with this, so this is none of them. So that's why you see people coming in to tell us how they think we should fight our cybercrime. And the disrespect aspect of it is that when they come in with a bespoke, a template that doesn't fit into our system, that doesn't recognize our peculiarities. And when you bring a template that doesn't really contextualize the peculiar nature of that individual or that institution, then you create problems. Yeah. What accounts for such framing? And is the storytelling narrative, right? It's the way they tell the story, the way the media portrays, the way the media tells the story, and then the issue I talked about news value, which I said there will be more discussions on this in the next session. So when you are telling the story, you want to tell the story in a way that would make it appealing, that would make people engage with it, that would make people have that proximity, that closeness, not that remoteness with that story. So they have to create a story in such a way that their audience would actually find it more appealing. And then the news values. What is considered news? What is considered news is not a type of things we would want to consider as news. Right? And we'll look at that in the next session. When we look at it. So that one we'll go into more into the dynamic. Yeah. Well, and is this framing right? That's the question. Is it only right? Is it unfair? Is it unethical? Is it unlawful? This framing that they frame Africa, is it unfair? Right? It is unfair because it is unfair to create the impression that Africa is not doing anything at all. And I'm giving you a number of countries that have actually put together cyber security laws and all those things, and there are provisions in place to deal with this cyber crime. And yet you create the impression that nothing is being done about it. Yeah, maybe that's also probably an issue, yeah. But the point is that there's something being done. And then there's the issue of Central Bank of Nigeria. Central Bank of Nigeria recently announced that it was developing a risk-based cybersecurity framework, right, to deal with these issues. And these are big things with a lot of resources and commitment, but nobody talks about some of these issues. Yeah. You know, yeah, but you complete it, I can see from here. The Bank of Ghana also recently also did something about what it wants to do to deal with all these issues about cyber security and cyber crime. So it is not fair to create the impression as if we really are not doing much when it comes to the cyber security preparedness. Yeah. And you see, the reason why, as the media, we need to take this thing very seriously is that there is a lot of benefits that comes with, the cyberspace. And if I ask you to analyze that, there's a lot. If you look at the entertainment industry, online education, connectivity, communication, sharing of information and knowledge, transaction, storage, there's a lot of benefits that come with it. So if you create the impression as if what goes on online is all about negativity, you deny people the opportunity to use the cyberspace for good things. And according to Pew Research Center survey, 45% of respondents in South Africa, in Sub-Saharan Africa, use the internet to access information about health and medicine. And you know the health challenges that we have. Right, 72% of Ghanaians users see economic benefits, yeah? See economic benefits stemming from greater connectivity compared with 54% of non-users. And the pattern is the same in Nigeria, Kenya, and then South Africa. I think we should be working on that, yeah? Measures to address that. Improving regulatory quality, right? We need to improve our regulatory quality. There needs to be working together by the international community because cybercrime involves dual or, if you like, non-geographic issues. So we need to come together to look at it. And according to a November report from African Union, there is a lot of specific laws and provisions to deal with these things in a number of African countries. And as we mentioned earlier on, Madam Chair, Ghana and part of cyber security laws, and then the different units are being created, and there's a lot of training going on within the judiciary themselves, and then the criminal justice system to let them understand how these crimes are committed and all those things. But the point we need to appreciate is that yes, cybercrime has a lot of ills for our society, but there is a lot of benefits, there is a lot of good things that is coming out there. It can be used to challenge the narrative that nothing good comes of Africa apart from instability, famine, AIDS, tribal people, and all those things. So there's a lot of things that we are doing. You know, if you look at even this our drone system, you know that it is unique. Right? Our drone system is unique. This Momo system, we started in Kenya, and then we added the interoperability, right? We added that. We are unique. Nowhere in the world has this been done. But then if this had been something that was generated by the West, you would see how they would actually pop champagne and jump all over the place to let us know that, yeah, we are big people, we've done this, learn from us. And these are coming from Africa. Yeah, we are coming from Africa. So we need to appreciate the fact that we are using the cyberspace to do a lot of positive things. But we need to tell our story. We need to tell our story in a way that doesn't put us in that straitjacket, narrow portrayal, negative portrayal of the way cybercrime is used. And so we have to have an effective strategy to combat cybercrime, and malicious activities in cyberspace requires a multi-stakeholder approach where the role and responsibility of government agencies and other potential partners is defined at a higher level. And we have to also strategize to reflect the values and beliefs of the African nations. And if we must have a clear set of principles that help make the decisions about how to identify, manage, and mitigate our cyber space. And we have to change the narrative. And the way we change that narrative is to really start looking more about advocacy journalism. And we'll talk about that in the next session as well. We'll talk about advocacy journalism because really, if you go to journalism school, and I'll tell you my experience, when I was fighting about how they portray, because my master's thesis was Africa in the British print media. And I did a case study of all British newspapers. And what I found out was so annoying. Within that same period, I got an opportunity to host a show on a radio station in Sheffield called Redgreen Community Radio. And they gave me 3 hours, right, to talk about anything to do with Africa. But because of the training we get from journalism schools, I ended up doing the same thing that I was complaining about. So anytime I was going to talk about something from Africa, it was negativity. And I was doing it unconsciously. But then I had these guys who were also looking at what we do, and then they will analyze it. And then you realize you're doing the same thing. Why? Because you're not doing advocacy journalism. You are doing the usual journalism in terms of what is news and what is not news. And when you look at news in the context of how it is defined in our journalism training schools, we won't be where we are 100 years to come. We have to change that narrative and move more into advocacy journalism and all this. I will have more of those discussions in the next session. Thank you very much.
What were you saying?
So basically, that's basically what our first session is all about. And here I said social media has come to stay, and the media need to forcibly bring the narrative to show the positive news that the internet is being used in Ghana, and not the Sakawa or the 419 or the Yahoo stereotype, while working to promote attempts to prevent or minimize these negative effects on relation to crime. We are not going to rush with it. We just say that we're not doing it. We are, but we're saying that their attention is so disproportionate, and that disproportionality is not helping us. And if it doesn't help us, it doesn't help anybody because we are living in an interconnected world, society. So let's all work on this together and not this negative stereotyping of a particular people just because of where we're coming from. Thank you very much.
People are
you are right?
people are because of how the Western ones, some of them call
Some of them, not because of the poor, because of this thing, they want to put them what they want to do. Emotional aspect. Because I have come, this Zakaria thing, my people, they don't do it. You see, someone has never had a benefit of formal education. Because most of the internet.
In fact,
I want to talk to them. I told them that
from us, we need to get it back. Okay.
Our leaders ready to back with the law, rules, and the legislative protection. Because we are ready, we will be ready to sanction this. But if the law, you have to go for mental war. And that is why the media, your advocacy should not only be limited to
Political.
limited to we will
What
do
we
the
can do.
advocacy journalism
What
to
can
change
we
the
do?
narrative.
Yes.
But what are the things we will do? Because remember, it's a collective effort, isn't it?
Yes.
So who are the stakeholders and what does each stakeholder
Has
have
to do.
to get us to where we are? Change the narrative. We can't change it overnight,
Yes.
but we should start making some
Somewhere.
effort. So you start making your own, you start being conscious of the way when you hear something about a Nigerian guy has done this, go deeper and ask about what is the root cause, what happened, what is the. Don't just look at the surface and the report on the. And the information are not there. When you try asking, even when passing the RCI, look at the processes you have to go through before. Not that you have to do the money. So you go and publish the wrong thing. So I understand the frustrations of the staff, but what I'm saying is that remember your code of ethics as a journalist says that you should not give way to what? Speed over what? Accuracy. Okay, so I'm looking forward in our next episode to see which of them you can talk about.
You see, one way, we were made to. I mean, GID, one way, GID. We were made to understand that, public relations, it's about, foundation, a good image of the company, whatever. We limited our minds to only a company.
Yeah.
We didn't factor in the nation as a whole. And we made to think that journalism is about, unearthing the evil, so it is a mindset of even we, the media person, from
right.
the foundation.
Yeah.
And that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
We think that journalism is not PR. But here we are talking about advocacy journalism, which has more.
Yeah, it's taking different dimensions. We look at it, community journalism, conflict journalism, peace journalism. They are all new dimensions that developing countries are using. If you look at Singapore, if you look at Sri Lanka, they're all using this to change the narrative. Because if you don't do that, you're really not going to get out of this because you can't beat them to their game. Because they have the network, and that's one of the things we will see. They have the platforms that tell their story. Where are our platforms? Where are our BBC? Where are our CNN? Where are our Skies? Where is our Al Jazeera? Yes, right. So I can see I'm getting into the time, right? Yeah. So let's keep the questions, right? Next session we're going to really do more because now we are coming into your territory, right? So we do more of the listening. So keep the questions because some of these things are interrelated. And we'll be coming back to some of these issues as well tomorrow. So keep the questions and then bombard me with them. If I can answer, I'll rush them and pass it to someone else. But thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you so much. Please, I hope you enjoyed your time. And learned something.
And the teaching.
What stood out for me is that we are the starting point. Whatever we see, whatever we do, whatever we put out, we have to see the good things and not the bad. So I just want people to share with me what they've been doing wrong as media persons and what they've learned or how to change it. Very quickly, then go ahead and with that statement. So
I was really excited when Henry mentioned of the psychosocial aspect of the cybercrime. I think it occurred to me sometime back when the Nigerian Napolitan star, the video was saying that I think he's doing the video, and then when he created the social media, someone has to really created using the video, and he had to beg the guy for 5 years before the guy handed over that account to him. Because so for the entire 5 years, he was using the video official, and he wanted easy access online. He wanted to have that. And someone created that, even though the person is not on the video, like intentionally created just to sabotage the people having access to it, knowing that everybody seems to know. So I think it was quite interesting getting that as part of the cybercrime.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as to what we think and really the starting point, I think I've shared a full experience and what made me decide to be a change maker. Now, I was in the US in 2018 program, and what I noticed, what I saw, I categorized it in a book about a year ago in the US. After 7 like this, I closed my class, which was a student of the university that I was attending the program, that university, at the American Center in Manhattan. And within 10 seconds, when I moved from my table to clear a field, we were doing community service. Someone kicked my class. I mean, it was true. Right now. Now, you guys is really and so much to our shop. I've never had that ever still in the US. I mean, and I have that still, you know?
Right.
But that happened to me. Then again, we were on the street, Times Square, right in front of the Bank of America, in Times Square, was a beggar with a placard, drop a pen for tonight accommodation. And I had seen it all over, but I was shocked that this was right in front of the Bank of America. But no, I was like, really? So they are doing that in this America too. And when I had the opportunity to speak to a journalist, I was like, oh, you guys have done so well.
Yes.
See, we painted America to be the greatest, but there's no problem.
Heaven.
But I didn't know there were people sleeping on the streets in America. I didn't know there were things in America.
That's how
And so
you
there was that point I told myself, enough of my story that had to do with how women are suffering because I'm a gender person, how women are suffering, how women are struggling. And so I decided to begin doing my own self-censorship. And the censorship was what? Making sure that I will only tell the stories of how strong our women are. How that woman who doesn't have education is struggling, selling coffee to take care of her daughter who is in her secondary school and all that. And that's how I began to do the change. And so I believe that, and today it's about cyber stuff. I've just learned that, okay, so I'm going to do. Nigeria is really doing anything after all. Ghana isn't doing anything after all. And so then now, from here, it's going to be a different report when it comes to how, even if a Nigerian or Ghanaian still with the internet, I know how to go about it, how to tell the story. So we don't keep reinforcing that bad narrative about the company. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great outcome. Go on now.
I wanted to add on what my sister was saying about just opening up certain things. I was thinking as we were talking, as media, I was also looking at national interest when it comes to issues like where political players also see that this is a point for us that we have to also protect. So then, sometimes it becomes difficult to know which one is national interest. This will affect our image internationally. So let's hold on with this. Then opposition also finds interesting. It's becomes a 3 point for the whole project to make the government look bad. So then I don't know how we're going to handle this. Because what is bad, which can affect our national image, it becomes a good point for the political party. How do you control that? You cannot control the internet. Also available for all of us.
Agenda.
Abuse.
What is agenda?
So the neutrality of the media sometimes is also key here. How we can be able to stand on our toes and determine what to push and what not to push. That's it.
Thank you very much.
I mean, something that has to do with national interest and the fact that the opposition would also want to score some clear points to it. I give you a clear example with CNN, how CNN did it during the election and running up to their election season survey. You notice that even after the election, Trump was still claiming all over, but the election was rigged, right? CNN being the mouthpiece of that country decided that yes, they would talk about how Trump was making a big deal out of the election, but they made sure that they counter what he was saying with facts. So yes, Trump was taking a statement and making noise, but then that balance, that showed that whatever he was saying, they would use facts to counter what he was saying. And basically that's what we are supposed to do, because the opposition will come and they want to take the point, but if it's we and I as journalists, who are our agenda set to decide that this must be spoken about, or just throw to the background and move on to the next better information. Thank you.
Oh. He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk. Give him the mic. Give him the mic. Why? He doesn't talk. So allow him.
Right, so that's on what Jermaine said. The media can, on our own, project something good as a thing. But how many of us here operate our own media house? The editors in the nation, the owners of the media station, they have their own agenda. So you come with a human-centered story, and the editor will throw it away, and give the space to a story that will give someone 3 points, as my brother said. So it's a very tricky and difficult situation that we find ourselves in. Unless you are operating your own media space, it's a very, very dicey and difficult situation.
That's the thing, a blogger.
To add to what you were saying, I believe as media people, most of the time we have the platform on social media and we have the platform. People follow you, although you may not own a media house, that's what we to channel your interest and where you come. That's your own little
But just like the man said, you should always say to say something that your company go in. You come to the office and you come and
that was the same and then we do registration and stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.